All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. I just want to, first of all, say thank you for everyone who's here today. And we'll just get started. I'm going to start by introducing myself and then having my co-presenters introduce themselves. So my name is Brooklyn, and I use she, her pronouns, and I'm currently a senior psychology major at App State who works on the lead team. And I'll let someone else take it away. I think it's Gabby.
Hi, I'm Gabby. I am a current sophomore. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm studying rec management. Sam, your turn.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm a senior studying hospitality and tourism management. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a transfer student mentor.
And hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Courtney Holder. I serve as the Associate Director for Leadership Education and Development at App State. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm so excited that you all have chosen to be with us today. We're happy to be in conversation with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is just the power of leadership and how to engage in leadership in your college experience, whether that's here or maybe even at another school. So yeah, if we can go ahead and anyone who's here could go ahead and introduce themselves. If you could go ahead and say your name, where you live, where you go to school, and what you're studying. And I don't want to call anyone out, but Dustin, if you're there and you're ready to share, if you could go ahead and start us off, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, my name's Dustin Fritzler. Currently, I'm in Trade, Tennessee. I got accepted here to App State, so I'm looking forward for the fall semester. And then I'm going for physics, but I'm kind of open for anything because I'm a transfer with minimal credits. Coming from the military, so.
Awesome, we're glad to have you here. Ben, if you're willing to share, if you could at least just say it on the mic, or you can put it in the chat, that'd be awesome. Want to connect and get to know you a little bit.
My name is Ben, and I'm from I'm currently now I want to toward education. Were you able to hear me?
It's breaking up just a little bit, Ben.
Awesome, Ben. Well, it's good to see you here. If you could put it in the chat, we'd love to learn more about you. And then I see Macy in here as well, just got here. We're introducing ourselves if you would like to introduce yourself to the group. But let's see. Okay. All right, do we want to go ahead and get started with the presentation? Yeah, all right, let's go ahead.
Okay, hello everyone. So just to get started, we just kind of want to see like what kind of leadership experience or perspectives you have already. So we're going to put a link in the chat, and it's going to take you to a Jamboard. And you're just going to click on that link, and you can, once it opens up, you can use any like images from Google, or you can even use the little sticky note feature, which is on the like right, and it kind of looks like a, it looks like a sticky note in a way. And you can take that and you can just find images or just write words that resonate with you and how you would describe leadership on the board. You might want to like resize a few of your things just to make sure like everybody's fits on it. But yeah. I missed who put Martin Luther King Jr., but that's a good one. That's a good one. I also like the what it looks like a gear with a bunch of people around it. That one's pretty cool as well. Can anyone share what they put and speak about it a little bit?
I can start. I put the picture of Martin Luther King Jr. just because I feel like he's a very influential leader. Everybody knows who he is, and he had a very strong goal, and he had a lot of followers that truly believed in what he believed in. And I think that's a great example of a leader, and that's kind of what you should hope to do as a leader yourself. So.
Yeah, most definitely. I totally agree. I put the people who, with a little flag, climbing up the mountain together, because I just think leadership is kind of like helping people and like pulling people up and like helping them and teaching them and bringing them up to a certain level, and ultimately just trying to make everybody better that's in that group. So next we're gonna stay on the same page, but click that little arrow at the very top, and we're gonna go to the next frame. And could do the same kind of thing, except we want to know what kind of leadership experience you've had. So you can just use a sticky note like you did before, or I guess find an image that maybe resonates with you. Yeah, just what kind of leadership experience have you had already?
I'll say if folks want to share audibly and respond to the questions as well, really meant to be a conversation, but since we have such a small group, feel free to share that way as well. We're interested in knowing what kinds of things have you all done related to leadership so far? Yeah, some great examples. So lots of clubs, organizations on campus, residential learning community, community engagement and service learning with nonprofits, perhaps. Serving in a executive board role with an organization. Yeah, military leadership. Gosh, there is so much in the military environment and experience where you're learning about leadership for sure. Group projects and classes. Absolutely, you learn a lot about yourself when working with other people in group projects.
Yeah, all of these are great. I definitely feel the group projects. Sometimes you got to pull more weight than you want in group projects. So all of these things obviously involve leadership, and leadership is so broad, as you can see. Yeah, there we go. We have sports leadership, we have student organizations, military leadership, super, super broad, but they all come back to kind of one thing, their leadership. And it's changing, and it's awesome that you guys have had those experiences so far, and hopefully either with App State or another college, you can experience other ways of leadership and build yourself and grow in your leadership development.
Yeah, when we're talking about leadership, and one of the reasons that we started off with these activities is because as many people have tried to define and talk about leadership, there are that many different definitions of what leadership is, right? And so the opportunity to practice and develop leadership really depends on who you are, what you're interested in, and how you view the world, what impact you want to have on other people or groups, processes around you. And I completely believe that there are probably so many more experiences that you all could add to that Jamboard of how you've practiced or experienced leadership as well. Think about part-time jobs, right, that you've had, or internships, maybe family roles that you've had. If you're an older sibling, or if you're an older cousin. I'm glad somebody put sports on there. It's such a great arena for learning and practicing leadership as well. So what we love to do is to help students think about and see leadership all around you, really in everything that you do. We just have to be looking for it and make meaning of it. There are so many opportunities to develop, enhance, and practice leadership every day, in the big things and the small things. So would love to ask you all this question and to drop your responses and guesses in the chat. As we think about leadership, we want to connect this opportunity to experience and practice leadership in the college and university setting with what you want to do afterwards, right? So we know leadership is important, but why? And what is it that employers particularly are looking for among recent college graduates? So when you make that transfer to a four-year institution, to a college or university, and then you're there for a few years, you finish your degree, and you're looking for that first full-time job, what do you think are the top skills and abilities that employers are going to be looking for from you as you are applying for that first full-time job? So we want to put that out there to see what you think, what comes to mind that they would be looking for on that resume and in that interview. If you want to put it in the chat, or you could also unmute and share that way too. But what do you think?
I think employers are looking for people that are willing to learn, and especially learning from their mistakes, and want to grow.
Yeah, that's a great one, like this growth mindset. Absolutely, because we could learn all kinds of things in our classes, but until you're there, like hands-on in a work environment, you don't actually maybe know how to put all of that knowledge into use, right? You gain so much when you're there on site, actually experiencing it. Definitely, that's a great one. Yeah, teamwork, collaboration, right? Like we are, I mean, I can hardly think of a job setting where you won't have colleagues, right? Or where you won't have a supervisor. Maybe if you're like working for yourself, but even then you're probably going to have partners and collaborators and constituents and, various other people involved. So you've got to be able to work with people. Yeah, absolutely. Any other skills and abilities that come to mind for folks?
Courtney, you're muted.
Yeah, I love that, Dustin. How do you motivate and inspire people to do things, right? Like, how do you delegate? How do you move people towards a vision or a direction? That definitely is essential. Yeah. So I want to share with you all some results from what is called the NAACE, or National Association of Colleges and Employers Job Outlook Survey. And they issue this survey every year to the top employers of recent college graduates. And they ask them that same question. What are the skills and abilities that you need for new employees that are coming straight out of college into jobs with your company or organization? And the employers that are involved in this survey represent all different industries, fields, and careers. So a really wide swath and broad array. And this is what they say. So these have consistently been the top skills employers have been looking for over the past 10 years for new hires coming straight from colleges and universities. They want their new employees to have the ability to think critically, to problem solve. They want them to have strong communication, that teamwork and collaboration aspect. Presley, you mentioned that in the chat. They want them to have abilities with digital technology. I can only imagine that that skill has become increasingly important over the last year. Leadership is on there, specifically professionalism and work ethic. So it's kind of initiative or drive, career management. That one is focused on being able to identify your own personal goals, to manage your tasks and responsibilities, to kind of see where you want to go within the company or organization. And then global and intercultural fluency. What I think is really cool, although leadership is specifically highlighted there as one of the skills or abilities, I actually would say that all of these highlighted in yellow are leadership abilities, right? They're things that you gain through leadership roles, experiences, and particularly through involvement in the college and university setting. They're all tied to leadership development. If you are effectively communicating, if you are effectively collaborating, working with other people, if you're solving problems and thinking critically, right? Those are all ways that you can effectively practice leadership as well. So all of that to say, the leadership experiences that you have, whether at your current institution or the institution that you're looking to transfer for, are significantly important to what you're going to do after college. That opportunity to develop your leadership during your college and university years will serve you far, far beyond the time after you graduate. So would love next for you all to think about, if these are the things that employers are looking for, how well do you think recent college graduates actually are at these things, right? So how skilled or proficient are they in each of these skills? So would you say that by the time you graduate or your peers are graduating from an institution, they are really skilled, they have like high abilities in these different areas, or maybe they're not so good at these yet? What do you think? And again, either if you want to unmute or add to the chat what your guesses are.
I'd have to say roughly about 20%. If you get kids that are just graduating college, straight out of high school, they're maybe 22, they've worked a handful of part-time jobs, which will help. But until you get that real world experience in an actual career, you're not going to have the same experience that, someone who's older and been in it for a while has. But that's, that creates a lot of ability to grow. And if you show that you're willing to grow to these employers, you're definitely going to be hired for a long-term keep for them.
Yeah, definitely. I love that, Dustin. Thanks for sharing. Back to that idea of a learning orientation or a growth mindset being so key. Any other thoughts or guesses about how skilled or how proficient do you think folks actually are in these areas when they graduate college? Okay, go ahead, Sam.
I was just going to say, I feel like some of them, they're probably pretty efficient in, like communication and maybe like the digital technology, because those are things that we do every single day. So you have to like be somewhat good at them. But with other ones, I could definitely agree with Dustin that they're probably not quite as high as they'd like to think.
Yeah, what's really interesting is that NAACE, the organization that does this survey every year, they found that there is a significant gap between the abilities that a recent college graduate perceives themselves having and the abilities that employers perceive those students having, right? So there's a big difference in how those recent college grads perceive themselves, which is that kind of light blue gray line here for each of those skills, versus how proficient the employers actually think that they are when they get to them for that first full-time job. So yeah, certainly, Sam, as you mentioned, that varies between the different skills, but you can see there's a pretty big difference in how employers and students perceive just how skilled they are in each of these areas. And some of them have bigger gaps than others. What is interesting to note is that digital technology is actually the only one where employers gave higher marks to their new hires, their new employees, than the recent college graduates actually gave themselves. So the employers were seeing like, oh, you are more skilled than I expected in this area of digital technology. But in all of the other competencies or skill areas, the employers are actually giving those recent hires, those brand new employees coming out of college and university, much lower scores in terms of proficiency. So what that tells me as someone who works with college students around leadership, education, and development is that we've got a long way to go to help students not only develop in each of these skill areas, but also to have some honest self-assessment. And as several of you have mentioned so far, to maintain that growth mindset, that learning orientation, knowing that we're not going to be 100% proficient in all of these things when you graduate from college, but to have the ability to continue learning and developing in these areas even after you leave college. The other thing that I think a lot about when I hear and see this information is that experiences out of the classroom that students can have during your college and university years are going to be some of the most significant environments and opportunities to develop these skills, right? So some of these you might get from some of your classes, but a lot of these things are not what you would actually be focusing in your academic experiences. So that involvement on campus, in the community, in various opportunities throughout your time at the college or university are going to be really, really significant. They're going to be great ways that you can build and enhance your resume, that you can dial into some of these skills and abilities in your interviews, that you can gain experience and continue to gain knowledge and ability around each of these areas. That's going to help you stand out, not just for full-time jobs, but even internships that you may be looking into as well. So with that, we want to talk just a little bit about like, what does that actual involvement and experience on campus look like? What are all of the different ways that you can continue to develop leadership as well as communication and teamwork and problem solving, all of these things during your time at the college and university?
So as Courtney mentioned, there are really so many ways to kind of gain these skills through different things you're going to do during your time at a four-year university. And we mentioned a couple of them earlier on the Jamboard. One of the first ones obviously is going to be academic. And this is through tutoring, doing research with your professors, or joining like an academic advisory board. And I definitely recommend looking at your student success office on campus to try to make these connections with your faculty and advisors, and that'll really help provide that extra bit of leadership experience in the academic portion. And then a little bit of community leadership that I think sometimes we forget counts is through volunteering, activism, faith-based groups, as well as like local nonprofit involvement. And I also recommend looking for the service learning office on whatever campus, whether you come to App or you go to another school, because they will provide a lot of opportunities for you to gain leadership through community involvement. In terms of organizational leadership, which is kind of what we discussed a little bit earlier, student clubs, student government association, Greek life, intramural sports, cultural organizations. And you can look at the campus activities or student engagement office on campus for this. A lot of schools will have lists of just like every club. For example, here at App, we have over 400 clubs. So you're going to find something to like find some kind of leadership experience in that is something you're very passionate about here. And then finally, professional leadership. And you can gain this experience through internships, part-time jobs, on-campus employment, networking, or attending career service events. And I recommend looking towards your career services office on campus, as well as kind of interacting with the alumni office to do some networking and gain experience that way. And now we're going to share like our top 10 list I think it's more like 7, but just some really important things that we think will help you make your most of your leadership experience at a 4-year university, and just kind of how we think this will better you in a really great way.
So the first one is go to your professor's office hours, get to know them, get to know the staff. This can be really helpful when it comes to like networking, because I know for me in rec management, I know my professors and they know so many people in the field who I can talk to and help get a better understanding of where I want to go based on where they went.
Yeah. And then next thing that I want to say is seek out help. Use campus resources. We have the Writing Center on campus that will check your papers for you. We have free tutoring, study sessions. The campus also offers some study skills classes. They're 1 credit hour. And if you need help with time management or effective, study skills, or like even like power reading, like learning how to read textbooks and stuff, and learning the skills to do that, we have all these resources on campus. So I just encourage you to take those and use them for sure.
And I'm going to say to put yourself out of your comfort zone and try to find new opportunities. I feel like when you transfer to a new school, your first thought is, well, everybody else has been here for a long time. I'm just going to sit back and like just get through school. But the biggest thing for you to do is to get involved, to, like I mentioned before, find things you're really passionate about and find these new opportunities. I never imagined that I would be putting myself in such a big leadership position as a transfer student mentor, because I'm an awkward person and an introvert, and it's just like the complete opposite of who I am. But putting myself out there and applying for an opportunity that I never in a million years imagined me to have has given me such great experience as like a leader and better communication. You gain all those skills through experiences like that. And then my next little like tip would be just to say yes to more things, especially opportunities. I always find myself saying no to things, like I mentioned, that feel like out of my comfort zone. But once you start saying yes to more things and putting yourself out there, you're going to find yourself gaining these skills and gaining like new opportunities. And it's definitely difficult, but once you start doing it, you kind of get the hang of it. So.
And my tip for you is to also put things into I statements. So when you speak, make sure you're reflecting on kind of what you're thinking. So like I think this is really important because it helps build emotional intelligence, and that is one of a great qualities that great leader has. And it also just makes it easier to communicate and prevents some kind of communication barriers or strains on conversations because of that.
And I'll add a couple from my experience in working with engaged and involved students on campus. I think it is so easy to get so overwhelmed during your college years with all of the opportunities that could be at your disposal, with all the work, right, in classes and maybe in part-time jobs that you're also taking on. And I think it is so crucial to find time for reflection, right? So we only can leverage our leadership experiences or any opportunities that we're having outside the classroom if we're actually taking time to make meaning of them and to think about, what did I actually learn? What did I gain from that? Or maybe if I made a mistake or something didn't go so well, what did I learn from that? As you take time to really incorporate that reflection process into your experiences, it's also going to help you really utilize those experiences in future job interviews or grad school applications or whatever you're going on to next. Because inevitably you'll get asked those questions by employers about, tell me about a time when you did XYZ, right? If you've taken time to actually reflect and make meaning of all the experiences that you're having during your time in your college or university years, then you're going to be primed to be able to answer those questions really well. You're also going to be able to speak from your like real authentic experience. The other tip that I would always give students is to think about how you invest deeply in organizations or initiatives or opportunities rather than just widely. What I see a lot of students do is they come to a college or university and they're like, I want to do everything, right? And so I'm going to sign up for all the clubs. I'm going to get involved in all the intramural sports. I'm going to connect with every organization. And it is a great time to like experience and try new things. But at some point, you want to think about what actually is best for me. What actually aligns with my passions? What actually am I going to learn and grow the most from? Because when you get to that point where you are applying for jobs or internships or grad school, it really goes a long way to show that I have invested in this specific organization, the specific club, the specific passion of mine over 4 years, right? Maybe I've really made an impact in this area rather than just attending meetings of 10 different organizations, right? Like if you're able to really invest deeply over a long amount of time, you're going to be able to have much more of an impact that you can sell and share, and ultimately get a lot more learning and development for yourself out of it as well, because you might have seen that organization or club or group through a lot of change and really been able to kind of rise through responsibilities and influence among other people who are there.
Yeah. And this is pretty much all the information that we had ready to share with you guys, but we are very open. If you have any questions for us as students who are in here, or for Courtney, or anything about leadership in college, you can put them in the chat or ask them to us now, and we'll answer whatever we can.
Yeah, I would add anything else that you are interested in hearing or knowing about as it relates to leadership during your college and university time. Let us know. We'd be happy to chat around that too.
As far as the research opportunities that are around, depending on what field you're in, what are some of the, how do you get involved in that? And then, how do you get started and all that?
Yeah, so I would say at most universities, there's kind of 2 routes that you could go about that. So pretty much all college and universities will have some sort of office of research, right? So at App State, ours is called Office of Student Research, and their whole purpose is to connect students with research opportunities on campus. One of the cool things about Appalachian State is that it is a primarily undergraduate focused institution. So a lot of times at other campuses, you'll see that those research opportunities are going to master's and doctoral level students. But at App State, because there's such a big undergrad population, those faculty members are typically most often working with those undergraduate students on that research opportunity. So could be looking for that centralized office of student research and finding that location on campus. The other method goes back to the tip that we heard earlier, and that's connecting with your professors. So having that individual connection with a faculty member of one of your classes, or maybe a departmental chair in your academic program of study, those relationships are oftentimes the primary connectors of students to research opportunities. So if you're doing well in a class, or you're just staying after class and talking to your professor, or you're going to their office hour, or you're asking them about their research that they're doing, a lot of times they'll bring you into it. And there can be a number of ways to do that, both formally or informally. Sometimes students do it for credit, like as an independent research study opportunity. Other times they might have opportunities to do it as like a kind of part-time job, right? Where you actually get maybe paid to work in a research member's lab for so much time. So really those faculty connections are really great and key to have, and to just express like your interest, right? Ask them questions about what they're doing, what they're studying, what they're interested in, and that'll go a long way. Sam, Gabby, or Brooklyn, have any of you all done research with faculty or worked on any projects with faculty?
I have not, but I do know, because I am a psychology major, and I know a lot of my friends have had research opportunities, that most of them come just from their relationships with their professors and talking with them about their research. And you can actually, if you're going on your department's website, you can see who your like teachers and like people in that area are, and you can see what research they're already doing. So you can get an idea of what they're interested in, and see if that also is something that kind of lines up with your interests. So I encourage you to do that. Do some research on your professors. They're professionals. They have a whole career path that you can ask them about. And yeah, they're great resources for experience and research. So definitely.
Yeah, that makes me also think about maybe another tip I would add to the list. That is, just because an experience doesn't currently exist doesn't mean that you can't make it happen at a college or university. I think about, so I serve as the director of the leadership studies program. We have a minor and a number of classes that I teach and other adjunct faculty teach. And we had never had students do research in our department before, but last year I had 2 students who were really interested in doing kind of their individual study class, basically creating an entire semester course for 3 credits for themselves around research topics and projects they were interested in leadership. And so they came and posed it to me. They had great like thought out plans. I helped them work on that a little bit. And then they did research for 3 credit hours, just individually on their own. They were driving and they were seeing forward. And that's not something that I, had organized or that had ever existed before, but they made it happen. Any other questions or topics that folks would want to chat more about before we wrap up our time together?
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. If you want to learn more about how to get involved in maybe even the leadership office on campus, you can see on the screen the leadership.appstate.edu will take you to the leadership department page, and leadership@appstate.edu is the email that you can email any questions to for any interests that you have. And yeah. I think that's about it. We just thank you guys for being here, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you here.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you all.